If you listened to my fantasy tips last week, you probably won, so let's do it again. Week 3 fantasy football tips. You're watching the MJ Take on Sports Fan Entertainment. MJ Take on Sports Fan Entertainment. And you heard me in the intro. If you listened to my tips last week, to my start and sit tips last week, you probably won. I told you to start Kelvin Benjamin. I told you to start Marvin Jones. I told you to sit Russell Wilson. I told you to sit Jameis Winston. I told you to sit T.Y. Hilton. I told you to sit Jeremy Maclin. So with that said, let's do it again. Starts and sits for week 3 of the 2016 NFL season. All of this information can be found down in the description box below. Let's start with the starts. And first of all, we have Philip Rivers, quarterback of the San Diego Chargers. Guys going up against the Indianapolis Colts. And man, we already know the Colts defense stinks, okay? They got away with it last week for the most part just because they were going up against Trevor Siemian, but Philip Rivers can throw that football. He's probably going to throw for over 400 passing yards in this game, so look out for that. A couple touchdowns, maybe about 2-3 touchdowns, and end up with the win as well. I like Philip Rivers this week. We move on to Matt Ryan of the Atlanta Falcons. Guy's been playing well in fantasy this year, been stacking up a number of points, and then this will be the easiest defense he's faced as this week he goes up against the New Orleans Saints. So you have to love that. You have to start Matt Ryan to me this week in fantasy. I think he's going to do big things. May end up with the most points this week. We also have Derek Carr of the Oakland Raiders. I know it appears as if the Tennessee Titans have a good defense. They have an okay run defense, but their pass defense is still very suspect to me. I like Derek Carr to continue his success this week in week 3. We move on to running backs. First of all, we have another San Diego Charger on this list as Melvin Gordon is a running back I expect to do big things this week. Again, going up against the weak Colts defense, he will get his, and he's already been a pretty damn good fantasy running back this year. I expect him to get another touchdown in this game and to probably rush for over 80 yards, and you'll be happy with that production. We move on to DeMarco Murray. And I told you to draft him. Hopefully you did. If you did, start him again. The guy is getting over 10 fantasy points every week in standard leagues. He's a must start right now, and the Raiders defense is not very good. The Titans will rely on their run game yet again. Start DeMarco Murray. We move on to Eddie Lacy. And I wasn't a big Eddie Lacy fan coming into this year. I told you not to draft him, and hopefully you didn't. But I think this is the one week he's going to do well. The Lions are not doing well against the run at all right now, letting up over 5 yards per carry. I expect Eddie Lacy to probably rush for over 80 yards and end up with a touchdown. So I like Eddie Lacy this week. We move on to the wide receivers. And by the way, I forgot to say this, just in case this is your first time being here. I don't say the obvious names. Of course, I could sit up here and say, oh, you should start Todd Gurley. You should start Ezekiel Elliott. I'm not doing that. These are people that you may be on the fringe on, saying, can I start this guy? That way I can solidify that for you. Let's move on to the wide receivers, okay? Travis Benjamin of the San Diego Chargers. That's right, another San Diego Charger. Guys, they're going up against the Indianapolis Colts. They're going to get their fair share amount of points today. I like Travis Benjamin this week. We move on to Michael Crabtree, yet another Oakland Raider. Again, I like the Raiders to put up points on the Titans this week. And right now, the Titans' number 1 cornerback, Jason McCoy, has been playing pretty well. But their number 2 cornerback, Parrish Cox, has been playing god-awful, and that's who Michael Crabtree will probably be going up against this week. So I like that matchup a lot. I like Crabtree a lot. And of course, if you have Amari Cooper, start Amari Cooper. We also have Willie Snead of the New Orleans Saints, as Louis T would say. Now, look. Right now, this guy has some injury issues. He should play, so just watch the injury report. But if he does play, I think he's Drew Brees' favorite weapon right now. So look out for Willie Snead to have yet another big performance. We move on to tight ends. Yet another San Diego Charger as Antonio Gates makes the tight end start list. Again, I told you to start him last week. Ended up having a touchdown, not too many yards, but I expect the yards to come this week and probably, I mean, who knows, maybe not another touchdown, but I expect him to do well, okay? Not everyone can get a touchdown on the Chargers team. Seems like that's what I'm projecting. We move on to the Jacob Tamme, tight end of the Atlanta Falcons, who I have as my next tight end start. Again, he's been playing pretty well. In the first 2 weeks, he's gotten 8 targets respectively in each game, so 16 targets in 2 games. Love that. That tells me Matt Ryan is looking at this guy. He's been catching the ball pretty well. You expect that to continue against this poor Saints defense, so I like Jacob Tamme. We move on to the defenses. These are sleeper defenses, and this is mainly for daily fantasy leagues, your DraftKings, your FanDuel. Instead of spending a lot of money on the Broncos defense, just take a defense like this, like the Bucs defense, okay? They're going up against the LA Rams. Bucs defense right now, their run defense is really good, only giving up just over 3.0 yards per carry. Their pass defense stinks, but the Rams can't throw the football very well, so they won't take advantage of that. I like the Bucs defense to create a couple turnovers, end up with this win pretty easily, and their defense will probably end up with a good amount of points. So I would like to advise you, look at the Bucs defense a little bit. We move on to the Dolphins defense yet again, going up against a bad team. Cleveland Browns stink. They're going to be starting Cody Kessler or Charlie Whitehurst. I don't care. They stink. They're not going to put up points, and they lost rookie wide receiver Corey Coleman to a broken hand, so they're just not going to put up points this week, man. Terrell Pryor is going to be their number 1 wide receiver. Get the hell out of here. I like the Dolphins defense as a sleeper play. We move on to the sit list. We have quarterback Andy Dalton of the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals haven't been putting up too many points this season. I don't think it's their fault. I think they've been going up against good defenses. Again, people trash the Steelers defense. I don't know why. I think they're a good defense, and I think they're proving that. They've given up 16 points in 2 weeks. I think they're pretty good. Total. Respectively in each game, they given up 16 and 16, 32 total. I think they're a good defense. So I think the Bengals have been going up against good defenses. I don't think that there's something wrong with their offense or something wrong with Andy Dalton or anything like that, but again, they're going up against good defense. Denver Broncos, great defense. In fact, probably one of the best defenses of all time, man, because they continue to win games just because of their defense. You can't start Andy Dalton this week. He's not going to do anything, so just don't do it. Maybe 12 at most. Just bench Andy Dalton. We move on to Blake Bortles. And you may say, what? He's going to be against the Ravens defense. Ravens defense isn't very good. But the Ravens defense is playing pretty well right now. They gave up 20 points to the Browns in the first half, but not a point thereafter. And they only gave up 7 to the Buffalo Bills. I like the Jaguars to win the game, but I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. And I think the Jaguars won't put up that many points. So I don't like Blake Bortles this week. And also, the Jaguars offensive line not playing well. Just lost Kelvin Beachum to injury. And the Ravens pass rush has been decent. So I don't like Blake Bortles this week at all. We move on to Jameis Winston. Again, I think the Bucs are going to win the game against the LA Rams, but I don't love Jameis's ability to put up points against this defense. Rams pass defense is pretty good. Remember, it was their running defense that really screwed them over against the 49ers, but they slowed down Russell Wilson. I think they're going to slow down Jameis Winston as well. So I like Jameis Winston as a sit guy this week. Just wait a week, and then next week you'll probably start him again. Now, first running back, do not sit this guy unless you have a better option, okay? I have to be clear, because if you don't have a better option, then fine, just start him. LeSean McCoy. I think the Bills might get blown out by the Arizona Cardinals, and if they do, they're not going to be running the football, okay? So, just because of that, and also the Cardinals defense is good, okay? They have a good defense, good run defense, so I think I would shy away from LeSean McCoy this week, but again, make sure you have a better option. We move on to Spencer Ware of the Kansas City Chiefs. Jets have a really good run defense. They're going to slow Spencer Ware down. I think he's finally due for a little low week, and I think this is going to be the week. I do not like Spencer Ware of the Kansas City Chiefs this week. We move on to Carlos Hyde. The 49ers run game last week I felt was pretty weak. Didn't get up a lot of yards on the Carolina Panthers. Seattle Seahawks only giving up 2.8 yards per carry right now. So Carlos Hyde, he's not going to do anything. That's just the damn truth. You sit Carlos Hyde this week. We look at the wide receivers. Again, make sure you have a better option because I think you should sit A.J. Green. You know, wide receivers, they're just not going to do much against the Denver Broncos this year, probably for years to come. Their secondary is too damn good. Chris Harris Jr., Aqib Talib, Bradley Roby, they don't let up a lot of yards. A.J. Green, we saw last week when he's going up against a really good corner, he doesn't do that good. And by the way, you're saying, what? The Steelers have a pretty good corner? Yeah, they do, in Ross Cockrell. So with that in mind, I don't like A.J. Green this week. Just sit A.J. Green this week. We move on to Steve Smith Jr. Or no, not Jr., Senior of the Baltimore Ravens. You know, the guy hasn't been doing anything this year. Sit him again, okay? I think maybe sit him for the entire season. Looks like Mike Wallace is the number one wide receiver for Baltimore, but the Jaguars, despite being trashed by everyone, it seems like, they haven't actually given up that many passing yards. They've only given up about 430. That's not that much at all. So I don't like the Ravens to throw the football much at all in this game, and I don't like Steve Smith to have a good game. So just bench Steve Smith yet again. We also have Vincent Jackson of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And it looks like he's kind of getting phased out of this offense. Again, I don't think the Bucs are going to put up too many points on the Rams. I think they'll win and win easily, but I don't like them to put up too many points. So just bench Vincent Jackson yet again. Looks like Adam Humphries is more of the number 2 wide receiver right now for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, much to the surprise of me. We move on to the tight ends. Jason Witten. And again, make sure you have a better option, but I don't like Jason Witten this week. You know, people keep trashing the Bears' passing defense and just the whole defense as a whole. I don't know why. Guys, the Bears' defense is pretty good. And think about it, Carson Wentz only threw for 190 yards last week. Brock Osweiler, the week before that, only threw for about 230. They're not giving up 300 passing yards. So with that in mind, Jason Witten, who, you know, Dak Prescott hasn't thrown a touchdown yet. You know, I think he probably will throw one in this game, but I feel like it's going to be to Des Bryant. The Bears have 2 good coverage inside linebackers in Jarrell Freeman and Danny Trevathan. I don't like Jason Witten's prospects of scoring a touchdown or getting many fantasy points in this game. So go ahead and sit Jason Witten. We have tight end Dennis Pitta of the Baltimore Ravens. Guy got like 10 targets last week. I felt that was an anomaly. Again, I think the Jaguars defense is a little bit underrated right now in terms of passing defense. So I like the Ravens. I do not like the Ravens tight end and Dennis Pitta here. I think he's going to have a little bit of a disappointing game if you expect him to start and get like 10 points. I just don't see that happening unless if he ends up getting a touchdown. But I just don't feel it this week. We move on to defenses. Packers defense. I think the Lions are going to put up points this week. And I feel like this game may end up being a little bit more of a shootout than some people are projecting. Packers defense hasn't played very well this year against the pass at all. Remember, Sam Bradford threw all over them. You know, it was just to Stephon Diggs, but damn it, he threw all over him. So with that in mind, I don't like the Packers defense this week. And we also have the Steelers defense. I feel like the Steelers and the Eagles would get into a little bit of a shootout. I think the Eagles' passing offense, while it isn't prolific, it'll give them some issues. And I'd sit the Steelers defense this week. I find a cheaper, better option if you can. So there you go. That is my week 3 start and sit list. Comment down below. I want to know your thoughts on these. And also, it looks like you guys just want to know my advice on anything. So if you want my advice on anything, go ahead and comment. It's Friday night, so I'm going to have time to reply. So with that in mind, this has been the MJ Take on Sports Fan Entertainment, and I'm out.